Good morning, beautiful humans. I am now about to cross the border into Georgia, and I'm so excited that we've now put our first state behind us and we're on to the next one. And the states are pretty short compared to Florida. That Florida in of itself was like a third of the whole trip. So Georgia is going to be all of 2 weeks, maybe. And then South Carolina is going to be maybe a little bit more than 2 weeks, and then it's like a month in North Carolina. Next little bit's going to go pretty fast here. But we're going to be heading up to Cumberland Island today, which is a national seashore, part of the National Park Service. We'll be anchoring out there and maybe meet some campers and talk with them. And then on up to Jekyll Island tomorrow. So this is going to be super fun. But it looks like we've got some good wind today, so it should be a good time. I find some of the language used on the island, particularly when it comes to environmental work, very odd. Hear me out. So they have a really great history museum here, and a big part of their marketing campaign is we are this supernatural island, and we're absolutely, climate change is a thing, like sea level rise, coastal development. But then they have 2 factories on the island that produce a significant amount of sulfur dioxide, to the point that their air quality here on the island didn't meet health standards for years. And they just now started to curb it. But every once in a while, it will still spike. So for me, I'm like, how can you be a super environmentally friendly island when you have factories on your island that are polluting the area that you're in? And in all of the marketing images that you see of the island, you don't see these factories, but you can't miss them from being in downtown Fernandina Beach. Like, you can't miss it. So my thing is, like, I even talked to the former mayor, and he was like, people are environmentally conscious. They come here because it's, you know, it's a environmentally protected island. And I'm like, okay. But when you go to the history museum, there's no mention of the factories at all. No pictures, no plaques, no nothing. They have a timeline going back to pre-European times, and they don't talk about these factories. That the first one was built in 1937. I feel like that should be a part of the history museum. And it employs 300 people and adds $20 million to the Florida economy. And it's not talked about on the island? I feel like that they're just ignoring a huge issue here. And that's not a problem for me to tackle, but it's a question that I'm curious asking, that I now have the contact number of the mayor, former mayor, and I'm gonna see if I can chat with him and see if I can get his opinion on that, because I'm curious. What's going on there? Hold on. This is Future Will, you know, a few days ahead of time, realizing that I totally forgot to do an intro for this video. So for this video, we are going to be talking all about the kind of gear that I'm using on my boat here. So we're talking everything from sleeping gear to cooking gear to navigational gear, and then also talking a little bit about the boat that I'm using, the model, the kind of different attributes of it, all sorts of gear related things about this boat while I'm using it to kind of answer some of those questions. And if you guys have any more questions, go ahead and drop those down in the comments below, and I'll see if I can answer them in either future videos or on social media. You guys can also find me on social media at Climate, Kayak, and Conversation. Drop me your questions there, or you can email your questions to climatekayak-and-conversation@gmail.com. All right, now back to where you were before. As of about 5 seconds ago, we officially crossed into the state of Georgia, finishing I'm going from, I started in Miami and I'm going all the way up to Norfolk, Virginia.
That is really cool.
But, so my cooking setup is twofold. That I have my one bag that is all of my, I would say, my cooking utensils and basically cooking hardware. It's also fairly easy to break out of gas containers, sponge for cleaning, and then my cook kit. And that's about it. And so before I even got my big yellow bag of food here, I like to set all of this up first. So this is just a super simple Bisgear camping cookware set. You can get like a million different one of these. Find them on Amazon. I got my cook set off of Facebook Marketplace that someone was just selling a bunch of camp cooking stuff and picked it up. And so in there I've got drying bag for when I do my dishes. Then I will also use this. So this is a canister stand. So Jetboil makes this. So I have another Jetboil at my house that I'll use when I'm camping, but this works for doing lots of other stuff. So then this will go on to the propane canister to make it a little more stable base. It's got rubber feet on the bottom. And then I've got my cook kit. Sparker for lighting if the sparker goes out. So this is just a basic pot that I've got my camp suds in. Camp suds, stove, measuring cup. It's literally my main thing that I use for measuring things, because most food that I'm using is proportional. It's not actually measuring, so 1 to 1 or 1 to 2. And then my one utensil is a spork. Probably could have gone with a spoon, but I went with a spork, and that's the decision that I made. I do have a second pot that I have in here that I will have as well. Tonight is going to be lemon pepper chicken with tomato, and that actually sounds really, really good right now. And some rice. And so we are going to set this all up. Just standard propane containers. This one's from Jetboil, but for the most part, you can get a bunch of different ones. This just goes on here. That actually went on really easy. There. Stove. They also have a bunch of different ones. This one has really started to seen some use, particularly everything out here in a salty environment gets abused so much faster. But you know, it comes with the territory. So once I've gotten that set up, then I'll kind of pack the rest of the cooking materials away here, because space is at a premium. Dinner almost every night is rice and something protein wise. So for my lunches, it's peanut butter tortilla wraps. Lunch or breakfast, because you can see the order that I used it today. Breakfast is always oatmeal and instant coffee. Yeah, I know it's not the best, but it's better than having to deal with coffee grounds all the time. Snacks. I've got more snacks behind me. Ooh, actually, while I'm thinking that, snack sounds really good right now. Thank you, Bill Moore, for the peanut butter pretzels. Salty, a little sweet, perfect. So, like I was saying, I also picked up this tiny little cutting board, which is perfect for when I'm in town. I like to pick up some produce here and there. So, tonight, this last trip I had picked up bananas, apples, and tomatoes. I was looking for an avocado, but my only option with avocados was buying a bag of 8 avocados, which is not what I was looking to do. Buy 1 tomato. So I will take this. I have also made the rule that, at least for me, that whenever I end up in a place, I usually like to set up my tent, which is just out of frame here, before I start dinner, because then after dinner I'll end up like hanging out a little bit, reading, writing, and I don't want to have to worry about setting up my tent in the dark. It's always the first thing I do, and I set it off to the side so that I have my room to work, so I can still get to the front hatch. And then for dinner, rice. This is just like 10-minute instant rice, just because wanting to boil for a long time, like boil water to do like rice as it normally would, it's like half hour, 45 minutes. And that wastes a ton of power for not that much more help. And then in there, I'll just pull this out as well. Gatorade. I'll usually make a Gatorade every night, and I'll then have that tonight. I'll drink half of it tonight. I'll have the other half with lunch tomorrow. And then for other dinners in there, I've got more chicken, and hot sauce, and beans, and olive oil if I decide I want to do that. Yeah, that's about all my food. Non-native produce to an area, and so water is boiling. I don't have too much in the way of cell service out here. Some kind of reference of where we are. We are at the northern end of Cumberland Island, and Cumberland Island is the most southern island in Georgia. So we just crossed into Georgia today, which is super exciting. We finished Florida. Gonna get into Georgia here. We're gonna head to Jekyll Island tomorrow, which is actually a place I used to live and work, and I'm excited to go and see some of the stuff there. But here in Cumberland Island, the entire island is part of the National Park Service and a national seashore. So the whole island is protected. The island was originally owned by the Carnegie family because they wouldn't allow the Carnegies on Jekyll Island. Because Jekyll Island was a very prestigious island, particularly of families with old money. Kind of think of old money versus new money in the 19th and 20th centuries. We'll go with that. But the Carnegie family was new money. And so, since they kind of came from a different time than a lot of the other families, like Rockefeller family, and basically all the big industry CEOs and executives at the time had a house on Jekyll Island, but the Carnegies weren't allowed, so they said, fine, we'll just do the next island south, and they developed their own island here. And so there's a couple of people that live on Cumberland to help preserve the island, but there is no further development, and it is an absolutely wonderful place to go visit. To get to the island, you have to take a ferry from St. Mary's, which is just across the Intercoastal Waterway a little bit. But it's a really nice, cute little town, and that's right on the northern border there with Georgia and Florida. But you can do a full place. You can stay on Cumberland Island. It's all camping for the most part. Cumberland Island. Go visit. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool place. feel like I'm getting a little better at this anchoring thing. It took me, you know, 4 attempts to actually set the anchor yesterday. But now it held really well. I just gotta trust the anchor. Oh, another gorgeous morning, that's for sure. Wind shifted a little bit. We're off to Jekyll Island. Now, for those of you that have been curious about what kind of gear I've been using, particularly when it comes to my sleeping, the first one is for my sleeping pad. I use a C2 Summit ultralight insulated pad. This came as a necessity because before I was using an REI inflatable sleeping pad, and that started to delaminate. I might see if I can post a picture of it happening here, and I needed to get a new one. So I actually contacted one of the sponsors for this project, Great Outdoor Provisioning Company, and they were able to sell me one real quick and get it out to me at a marina in less than 3 days. So that was super helpful. Really been enjoying that one. In terms of pillow, I'm also using a Nemo Philo pillow. So it's really nice. Feels like an actual pillow, plus also it's a little bit inflatable. But I enjoyed that one. I picked that up before I left. Since it's still getting into summer here, I have 2 layers of my sleeping system. I have my thinner layer, which is just a liner, which is a thermalite reactor. This is like a 5 or 10 degree liner. So on the really warm nights, this actually works really well. This is just what I sleep in, particularly when I'm inside the tent and I have it all zipped up. It can get a little warm in here. So this, half the time, this is all I need. But I do still have a sleeping bag. This one is an old REI 3-season bag. So this goes down to 55 degrees, but it unzips completely, so I can basically lay on top of it, and if I get cold in the middle of the night, then I'll flip it over. But those 4 things together has really been a really great sleep system for me. I'm inside my tent here, and the tent itself is a Camprite original tent cot. They may or may not make these anymore. The only reason that I use this one and not their newest version is that this one has only 2 sets of legs, which is what I need for setting this up on the boat. The newer ones have 4 legs for good reason, because with them having at the thirds, if I end up leaning back too far and putting all my weight over here, if I go a little bit further, then the other side is gonna then end up kicking up, and I end up falling. Which is why I Velcro the tent down to the boat, just in case that happens. But I've really enjoyed it. It's really great. There's a couple of things that I think I might change in it, but I think they probably would have changed them with their newer models anyway. But the whole sleep system, I'm able to unpack and pack back up inside the tent here, and that has really helped kind of keep things, especially if it's inclement weather outside, that I can basically unload into here and be fully self-sufficient in here. The wind does get pretty loud sometimes, but you know, you do what you can. Wait, you're not on the boat? What are you doing, Will? Well, first off, I'm biking, which is exciting because it's the first time that I've biked on land, and probably since I did that video. I'm out biking here on Jekyll Island, heading down to Tidelands Nature Center, which is where I'm hopefully going to be interviewing some of the amazing staff there, and also just getting to explore an island that I used to live on. It's a little part that you guys probably didn't know, that I used to be an environmental educator with the Georgia 4-H program here at Camp Jekyll on Jekyll Island, as well as the Burton 4-H Center on Tybee Island. This is a really special place for me. Behind me here is a live oak tree that I have a lot of history with. I had said before that I used to teach here on Jekyll Island at the Camp Jekyll 4-H Center, and this is the tree where we would take kids to come and climb, enjoy nature, and be engrossed in nature. I've climbed this tree many times myself. It's a really special tree because this might be the first time that some kids have climbed a tree before. And climbing a tree is one of the best feelings in the world. It is empowering, it is exciting, it is thought-provoking, it is enthralling, so many things. Just feeling connected with nature through the tree, feeling the tree. This tree has been around for hundreds of years. Wouldn't easily say that this tree is over 400 years old. And it is an incredible live oak, like so many others on barrier islands like this, in maritime forests. The birds singing for spring migration, the bugs coming out, although I don't always love them, the frogs chirping. This is incredible. I've missed this place.